Hey guys, I hope you had a really good week. I'm really happy to be back with you on the second part of our brand new series that we started last week. Now the series is about special statements that Jesus made about himself. So I'm going to ask you a question right off the start. Can you remember what those statements are called? They are called the I am statements of Jesus. And so I talked a little bit about this last week when I showed you that awesome bush in our yard. You remember? It wasn't special at all, was it? But the story about the bush was amazing. And every time that Jesus said, I am, he was expressing and telling the people around him something incredibly unique about himself. Because remember, that's what God had said. Tell them, I am has sent you. So Jesus was saying, I'm not like other men, I'm not like other teachers. I have a divine purpose from God. I am. And last week we looked at the first one that he made in John 6, where he said, I am the bread of life. And we learned about how Jesus was telling people the same way that you need bread in order to live, have a physical life, you need me in order to have eternal life. And we can have that life through faith in Jesus. Now this week we're on number 2, the second of his I am statements in the Gospel of John. And this is actually a statement that you have heard before, whether you knew it or not. Now 2 weeks ago, Sarah was teaching you on Easter Sunday, and she did that really cool object lesson. And in that object lesson, there was this statement of Jesus. So I thought that I would ask Sarah to help to teach this to you guys this week, which is kind of why I'm outside, in case you were wondering, and I just need to find her. So I'm going to take you with me, and hopefully this doesn't make you too dizzy. Let's spin her around and take you on a little trip through the backyard. I think she's in the shed. Sarah, are you in the shed?
I'm in here.
You're in here. Okay. What? What are you doing?
I'm looking for my gardening
I can't
tools.
see anything.
Well, I know. I can't find them.
Wouldn't it be easier to find them with the light on?
Well, yeah, but the light wouldn't work. I don't know what's wrong.
Oh, well maybe it's the breaker panel here. Let me look. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh,
Boom!
thank you. Oh, look, they're right in front of me. It's amazing what a little light can do.
Makes a big difference. Hey, that's actually what I was just talking to the kids here about this second I am statement of Jesus that we're going to do. Remember you mentioned it when you were doing the object lesson?
Yes, Jesus said, I am the light of the world.
That is the one. Do you think you could help?
Sure, that'd be great. I actually read a really interesting story this week, and it helps illustrate how Jesus is the light of the world. So it's a true story, and it was about a group of Christians who wanted to help some kids who actually grew up in the sewers. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know what the sewer is, but it's a really dark underground place, really stinky, really dirty. And these dark underground places were where all the water was held that would come from people's sinks and from where they flush the toilets. So all their waste would go into these sewers. And these kids were living there. So this would not be a very nice place to visit, let alone live. It was very dirty, smelly, and dark. And these Christians wanted to come and they wanted to give the kids a chance at a new life out of the darkness. And they wanted to get them away from the filth and give them a new home. So I asked Cameron, our daughter, to draw a picture for us just to kind of help visualize maybe what these kids might have looked like. So this is what she came up with. So a man went into the sewer and he took a camera team with him. And it was so dark in the sewers that they actually had to use the lights on their cameras so that they could see where they were going in these sewers. And I can't even imagine what the smell would have been like. So let's think for a minute. Think of these kids. They were blind. They were living in darkness, down underground. They would have been very, very dirty and filthy from all the waste from like thousands of people's homes. So can you picture yourself if you were one of these kids? A man comes, you're homeless, you're living in a sewer, and a man comes and offers you a way out, a way to to come out of the darkness and to have a new life, a new home. So I think we would probably all jump at the chance. I think you'd jump at the chance to do that. But as these kids, or as you would be led out of the sewer, it would be really, really bright. If you can imagine being in the pitch dark, and then all of a sudden you're walking towards an entrance of a tunnel, and you can see some light, your eyes would really hurt from it being so bright. And eventually your eyes would adjust and you'd be able to see better. But as you could see better, you'd start to realize how dirty you were. I don't know if you can see in this picture, there's dirt all over the kids' faces, all over their clothes, and they would try to wipe the dirt off. There would be stains on them that they couldn't get off, and the brighter it got, the more they would be able to see how dirty they really were. So what do you think you would do? I think there would be probably 3 different ways that a child in this situation who was living in a sewer could respond to that. They might be too embarrassed. They wouldn't want people to see them, see how dirty they are. So they probably could maybe think that, oh, well, I'll just get cleaned up first. I'll get cleaned up and then I'll come out of the sewer. But can you really get clean in a sewer? That wouldn't work very well. There might be some kids who realize that as they get closer to the entrance that the light is hurting their eyes, and it's not what they are used to. They prefer the darkness, so they actually might go back into the sewer and stay where they know, where they're comfortable. And then there's other kids who may say, I am dirty, I am smelly, I can't do anything about that right now, so I need to go and I can't stay here. And as they get out of the sewer, they would then see that there are people there to help them to get clean. They don't need to do it by themselves. And they would be able to give them new clothes and a new home. They could have a new life in the light. Which child do you think you would be if that was you?
Thanks so much for that story, Sarah. I loved it. It's great. Helps to illustrate what Jesus meant when he said he is the light of the world. So why don't we take a look in our Bibles and see exactly where it is that Jesus said that, all right? We're going to have a sword drill. It's time. We took a week or 2 off, and it's time for a sword drill again. So, you know how it works? We're going to hold our Bibles. They're going to be closed. I'm going to say where we're going to look, and then we will go and we'll look it up together, and we'll see if you can beat me in the sword drill. All right, here's where we're going to look. It's going to be John 8:12. All right, actually, I'm going to say charge. I don't know if I did that before or not. But that's what I'm going to do. I'll say where we're looking and then the word charge, and we'll go. Ready? John 8:12. Charge. Oh, I'm getting slower in my old age. All right, I got it. All right, here's what it says in John 8:12. It says, Jesus spoke to them again. I am the light of the world. Anyone who follows me will never walk in the darkness, but will have the light of life. It's Jesus' statement, I am the light of the world. Now, what do you think Jesus meant when he said, I am the light of the world? Well, I'm just going to talk about 2 things, and they're going to be short, okay? 2 things that it means when Jesus said he is the light of the world. Here's the first thing. Jesus shone a light on God. Now, let me explain that. Have you ever woke up in the middle of the night, it's totally dark in your room, and you're trying to find your way to your door? Has that ever happened to you? It's happened to me. I'm trying to find my way to the door, it's dark, what ends up happening? Well, you're going to bump into something, you're going to stub your toe, you're going to hurt yourself because it's so dark you can't see where you're going. You're kind of feeling around trying to find the wall. That's happened to me a lot. Now here's the truth about us as human beings, as people. We're in the dark when it comes to God. We're stumbling around. We're trying to find our way. And this is one of the reasons that there's so many ideas about what God is like. If I went into town after this whole self-isolation thing is done, if I went into town and asked 100 different people what God is or what God is like, I would get a lot of different answers most likely. There would be some people who would say there is no God, and there will be some people who would say there's many, many, many gods. There'll be some who say that God is angry and others that will say, well, God is only loving. You get all of these ideas, and all of these different ideas that don't agree demonstrate that we're in the dark when it comes to God. But here's the thing about the darkness. This is maybe one of the hardest things about it, is that we don't know we're in it. We think that we can see just fine. Oh God, well, I know what God is like. Almost all of the people that Jesus was talking to, they thought they knew everything that they needed to know about God. They were religious. They tried to do good. They tried to follow the law. And Jesus came to show them that, and to show us, by the way, that our ideas about God, they're not even close. He was the light to show people what God was really like. In Colossians 1:15, the first part of the verse, it says this: He is the image of the invisible God. Jesus loved people. He healed people. He taught people what God is like. His light brought clarity to everyone to know who God is and what He's like. But here's the second thing that Jesus did. He shone light on sin. Here's the part that most people didn't like, and to be honest, still don't like today. People don't like when you bring up the word sin. And Jesus didn't only show people what they wanted to see. Sometimes His light showed them what they didn't want to see about themselves. Jesus talked about it in John 3:19-20. Listen to this. I'm going to read it for you. It says, "This is the judgment. The light has come into the world, and people have loved darkness rather than the light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone who does evil hates the light and avoids it, so that his deeds may not be exposed." So Jesus was talking about how the light that He shone makes people uncomfortable because it shows them, like the kids in the story that Sarah shared, it shows them that they're dirty. When you're in the dark, you can kind of feel like everything's fine. I'm doing well. But as we begin to have that light shine on us, to show us the holiness of God, it shows us our sinfulness too, that we're so far from measuring up. And the more the light shone around them, the easier they could see the mess that they were in, and they didn't like it. Jesus' light exposes our sin. And He tells us that we all fall short. We know that well from Romans 3:23. All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Most people heard it. They didn't like it. They didn't want to hear it. They thought it was bad news. But I want to tell you that this is not all bad news for you and for me. Why not? Because Jesus didn't come to simply show us our sin and then leave us in it. That would be bad news. He didn't just come to show us what God is like and how far we miss the standard and then walk away. That would be awful. He came to show us our sin and then take care of it for us. That's amazingly good news. Remember the object lesson, Easter, about the candle? You remember that? That's when Sarah first read these words from John 8 where Jesus said, "I am the light of the world." Do you remember what happened? The penny is in all of that dark water, totally lost in that sin. And as the light of the candle went out, took all of that water off of the penny and towards the candle. And that is what Jesus did on the cross. He laid down His life in our place, taking all of the darkness of our sin on Himself, paying the price so we could be free from it. And we now get to live a new life in the light. Isn't that a great God? So there we are, the second of the I am statements of Jesus. I am the light of the world. Now I'm going to ask Sarah to come back, and we're going to do a couple questions with you guys, and we'll be done. All right, here we are with a few questions. Thank you so much, Sarah, for helping this week to teach the kids about this great statement of Jesus, I am the light of the world. And so we've got 3 questions for you. I'm going to ask one, then Sarah's going to ask one, then I'll ask another one. And we are going to give you a couple seconds in between each question to pause and to talk about the answers with your parents and your family. And we hope that this will be really meaningful for you. Okay, so here is the first question. It goes like this. How did Jesus coming to earth help us to know what God is like?
Second question. We want you to read Matthew 5, verses 14 to 16, and ask this question. How does receiving the light of Jesus affect our lives?
And the final question for today. How can you let your light shine for others to see?
It's a good one.
All right, guys, we really hope that you enjoyed this part number 2 of the I Am Statements of Jesus, and we really look forward to being back again with you next week to keep on going in this series. Have a great week.
See you later.